What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Burnham RC Racing YouTube channel. Today we're going to get back into our XRAY XB2D build series, and we're going to get into bag number 3, the rear suspension components and the chassis. So let's get into it. Okay, so I have all of the initial parts pulled out of our parts bag. Our arms, pills, hinge pins, C&D blocks, shock tower, and our wing mount. Now the first thing I'm going to do is actually take the arms that come with the kit and I'm going to put them aside. So the kit comes with a set of 2 sets of arms. It comes with a set that is disengaged and a set that is standard. So this is your standard set, this is your disengaged set, and typically it advises the disengaged arms for the dirt part of the build, whereas these are for the carpet. But in 25 and 26, they have moved to a different arm that has a little bit more tunability for shock mounting locations, and they actually recommend these standard arms across the board. So that's one of the first things, one of the first add-on parts that we're going to do for this 2024 buggy, and that is install the new 25 and 26 arms. So you can see here there are 3 shock mount locations versus 2 on the old kit. So these are what everyone's been running. They're working well on the current platforms. So that is what we're going to upgrade this 2024 with. So first step is we're going to cut out our pills, and the kit recommends center in the C and D. So that's what we're going to start with. That will probably change, of course, as you know, I hit the track and decide what I like, but we're going to go with kit setup first and run it as is. So let's cut out these center hole pills. I'm going to insert them into our C&D block. Now, because they are center, obviously orientation isn't going to really matter. I'm going to push that down to make sure that they are fully seated, which they are. Insert onto our C block here. Same thing, orientation doesn't matter. Although if you are going with anything but center, make sure you have them orientated correctly. Okay, get that puppy seated in there nicely and set that to the side. So we're gonna take our C block. We are going to cut out these 2mm shims that are stuck to the arm. Pretty cool how X-Ray sets those aside for you. Cut off this little nubbin that's on both of our spacers. Put that to the side. We're then going to put our 2mm spacer onto our hinge pin. Put it into our C block. Same on the other side. And we're going to orientate so the shock is forward. That's our shock mounting, our sway bar, excuse me. We want our sway bar mount to be forward. We're going to take our D block and we're going to slide that on the back. And these arms are nice and free. So no arm reamer needed. We're going to take our chassis and we're going to get ready to mount our rear suspension pivots onto the car. So we need 4 M3x8 flatheads here. That looks like the right size. Let's pull out 4 of those guys. And we are going to want to clean these with alcohol because the kit does call for Loctite on these. So you might be saying, why do we need to clean them if they're brand new? Well, the black oxide coating comes with a little bit of oil on it to prevent any corrosion while in transport. So we're going to make sure that we rub these down with alcohol. That'll give the Loctite what it needs to actually set and adhere to the screw itself and to the threads. So we'll just clean these up. Not a lot of gunk coming off them, but it's always good to give them a nice wipe down. Okay, get our Loctite here. Give that a shake. And set our C&D block onto the chassis. Flip that over. Give this a tiny little bit of thread lock. You don't need a ton. I'll slide that screw in. I'm not going to go crazy until I can make sure all of the screw holes are lined up. Then we'll go back and snug it. A little bit more Loctite. And run that screw through. Now they should be all lined up, so I can start snugging up these second two. Let's run that in there, give it a nice snug. Now some people do recommend, actually, I know Seth Van Dalen does this in his builds, is installing all your screws with Loctite, letting them dry overnight, and then actually breaking the Loctite the next day, pulling the screw out, cleaning it, re-Loctiting it, and then installing it for final assembly. Because I'm sure we've all experienced even a screw that's Loctited coming loose when you're outing, when you're making your first outing with your brand new build. So we'll wipe down some of that excess Loctite. Just like that, we have the first piece mounted on our chassis, the rear suspension arms. So that looks good. Let's set that aside. Now we're going to work on our shock tower here. So the XB2 comes with a carbon rear tower, which is pretty slick. I'm going to set that aside and grab our bag of screws. We need two 3x16 and two 3x10. These are the button heads. So that looks like the proper guy there. Let's grab a matching one. That guy's slightly too long. Let's be these short little fellas, which it is. Grab two of those, put that guy back in. For this, I'll actually use the driver. No Loctite on these since it's going into plastic, but don't go crazy over tightening it, because you don't want to strip your brand new transmission case. So we'll run these guys in, and then I'll tighten them up with the hand driver. So these new arms from the 25 and 26 should close the gap a little bit and make this car a little bit more competitive. It should give me a little bit more shock mounting position. It should give me a little bit more, a little larger tunability. The window at least will be a little bit larger, which will be great. Okay, tower is on. Now we're gonna look at installing our wing mount, which calls for 4 more 10mm button heads. Grab those 4 suckers. I actually had to postpone this video for a little bit because I was waiting on the proper arms to come in. Inadvertently, I had ordered 2 left side arms, which I guess shows my lack of knowledge when it comes to 10 scale. I just assumed that the left and right were the same like they are on 8 scale. So I had to wait for the proper parts to come in from RC America, which shipping time is really fast, but you know, I was ready to shoot the video and then had to postpone it a couple days while I waited for those parts. But they're here now and we're good to go. And now I have an extra set of rear arms, which probably isn't a bad thing. So no harm, no foul. So we'll get this wing mount snugged up on this beautiful carbon tower. And just like that, the rear transmission is ready to mount to the chassis. So we will pull this puppy over here. And for those of you wondering, yes, I did mount the wing mount on the wrong side. So let's go ahead and fix that. And I will catch up with you guys when I have that fixed. Okay, we're back. The wing mounts are on the proper side of the shock tower now, and the transmission assembly is ready to be mounted to the chassis. So what I'll do is I'm gonna slide that into place. It should pretty much key into where it wants to be. And again, no Loctite needed since we are threading into plastic. But we don't want to go crazy and strip out our transmission case like I said before. So we're just gonna go nice and easy with the driver and then snug everything with the hand driver. Kind of going a little bit of a star pattern here. That way we pull the transmission in nice and straight. Like I said, it does key into place, so it should line up pretty good once you have it in there. But I don't want to cause any unwarranted tweaking, so we'll just pull this sucker in nice and slow. A little bit of a star pattern. And make sure everything is nice and snug. Man, these fresh screws on a fresh chassis just give me the fizz, as they say. Just something about a brand new build. Even if it's not a brand new build. If I ever replace a chassis on any of my cars, I always do fresh screws on the bottom. Just something about it. Look at that. Woo-wee. All right, so the rear transmission assembly is on the chassis. The rear arms and C&D block are on the chassis. Again, these are the 25 and 26 arms. So that should give us a little bit of an advantage there. Kind of close the gap, if you will. So the next step is to assemble the drive shafts and the rear hubs and turnbuckles. So we're going to take the chassis, put that aside, and I am going to get everything organized for this next step. So let's get those parts put together. Okay, so I've got all the parts laid out here for the rear hub and rear CVD assembly. So let's go ahead and get into this. Get some lithium grease here ready. I'm actually going to give these Out drives a little bit of a wipeout, kind of for the same reasons that they have usually some anti-corrosive oil put on them from the factory, and kind of want to get some of that stuff out. That way I can put in fresh grease and it not have any binding, or at least as little binding as possible. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of grease and I'm gonna put it inside of these drive shafts, right where the cylinder will go. I'll do the same for the side. Try not to go too crazy, because it usually just ends up making a mess and attracting more dirt, but you do want to make sure it's well greased. So there's kind of a fine line between well greased and overly greased. So we'll push that cylinder down in there. We'll do the same for this side. Gonna use the excess on my hands to grease up this one. Push it down into there. That should be good to go. I'll also take a little bit of grease. And push it down into the actual drive cup as well. Make sure that's well greased also. Take our drive shaft, insert it into the drive cup. Try to keep that hole aligned. Insert our pin. And just kind of move it around, make sure that grease is well coated. And we'll do the same for this side, get our hole lined up there. Insert it into the drive cup. Grab our pin, push our pin through to connect the CVD assembly, and make sure that grease is well spread out. Went a little wild on that one compared to this one, but that's okay. Just wipe off some of the excess here. And we are good to go. Take our other pin, insert it into the tip of the drive cup. We then can slide on our bigger bearing. Do these simultaneously. Slide on our bigger bearing. We're going to take and use the high mounted rear hubs. The kit comes with two alternatives, a upper and a lower mounting position. You kind of see the difference there. We're going to use the upper, which is recommended for dirt, for low bite surfaces, which is what we are going to be running on. So we're going to insert our drive shaft assembly into both hubs. Make sure you're using the same one for obvious reasons. We can then take our actually going to slide this pin out for the interim. Put in our other bearing. Make sure it's pressed in there. Then slide our pin in. Thought I was doing myself a favor by having that pin in there, but clearly I was not. Slide our front bearing into this one. Make sure everything is seated. Since, nope. Try to get our pin in here. Okay, good to go. Then we can take our hex, slide it over the shaft and over the pin, just like that. The same on this side. Perfect. And we're going to take our tiny little M2 screws here, which I believe should be a 1.5 millimeter. And we're going to lock down our hex. Now the manual does not call for any Loctite here, so I'm going to follow the rules. I imagine it's so you can get that screw out if need be. Loctite on tiny screws is not always a great idea, so we'll check them. We'll do a little nut and bolt when we get the car on track, make sure that they're not coming loose, but we'll snug them down good. They should be okay. All right, that's our drive shafts and the hubs, which feel good. Okay, next is these little aluminum pieces for the turnbuckles. So we're gonna get those in. The initial setting is this chamfered section on the top. So we're gonna follow the initial setting. Again, no call for Loctite, so I'm just gonna follow what the manual says. And again, we'll do make note of those to check when we get on the track. Do a little nut and bolt, as you kind of always should with a new kit, right? Because you're inevitably gonna have screws come loose, so. So we'll get these snugged up, and then we're gonna put the inserts into these hubs, which they're recommended for low traction on dirt is the upper corner. So I took the liberty of cutting those all out of the plastic trees. So we're just gonna push those in. We want upper corner. We want upper corner. Make sure we have the same position. We do. And for this side, I want the opposite, upper corner and upper corner. So when we have them in the car, they should both be in the upper corner. Perfect. All right. Moving on, we are going to start installing the sway bar, which the kit comes with a plastic sway bar holder. But that's another upgrade that I'm making to this 24 to kind of bridge the gap, and that is adding the aluminum sway bar holder. Now I am waiting on some sway bars. I have to take a look at some setups and see kind of what the recommended sway bar is for low bite surfaces. So for now, we are just gonna install the actual sway bar holder, and later on I will put in the sway bar once I have that decided. So we're gonna use our two M3x16 screws. We're gonna pull in our chassis once again. throw this puppy down. You're probably not going to be able to see this all too well because of the shock mounts, but I'll make sure to give you a good view once we get it installed here. I'm not sure if my electric screwdriver is gonna be able to reach, given the angle of the dangle here, but we'll give it a shot. Again, we don't want to strip our transmission, so I'm just gonna get them close with the electric screwdriver and then tighten them up with the driver here. And I'll give you guys a good look of what this looks like on the car. Ooh, doesn't that look pretty with that matching D-block? Ooh-wee. All right, so up next, we're gonna start putting these hubs into the actual car. So we're gonna grab our outer hinge pins, put those to the side. We're gonna grab our little plastic trees for the shims, as well as we're gonna want these 4 little tiny screws to lock everything down. Try not to lose them. Okay, so for the standard arms, which we do have, we're gonna want a 1 and a 2 millimeter spacer. So let's grab this sucker and cut out our spacers here with our flush cuts. Cover 1. Put that to the side. Cut it out of this one. And cut out our other 2. Put those parts to the side. We're going to take our hinge pin and line it up with our hub here. Put it into the drive cup. Put our hinge pin in the outer hole with our 1 millimeter spacer. Get our hub lined up here. Push our hinge pin through. Take our 2 mil spacer and slide that puppy in. I need a little pick here and I'll line it up. There we go. That is in. We can then take our locking screw with our 1.5 and insert it into the arm to lock that hinge pin in. Don't go crazy on these. You definitely don't want to strip these out. Ruin your arm. And they're not load bearing, right? They're just there to hold your hinge pin in. So we're just gonna snug them up and not go crazy with the old gorilla hands. Perfect. All right. That's one side. Let's flip this puppy around and do the other side. Get our hub lined up. Slide our hinge pin in. Put our 1mm in the front. Slide our hub in. Slide our 2mm spacer in the back. That went in a lot easier. Slide our little locking screws into place. Remember not to over tighten them, to lock our hinge pins in. And that should be the rear suspension pretty much put together. The next step is going to be the turnbuckles, which I have another set of hop-up parts. Okay, and just like that, we have some rear suspension for our XB2. Look at that. Okay. Next is the turnbuckles. So again, let's put this to the side and let me get the turnbuckle parts put together here and laid out, and I will walk through what my next set of hop-ups are to make this car a little bit more competitive. Okay, so here we have the next set of parts to build our turnbuckles. So the kit does come with these steel turnbuckles. However, I will be upgrading to titanium. These are the J-Concepts, just fin turnbuckles. They're the blue titanium. And you can see that they are quite a bit larger, not only shaft diameter, but also the threads. So the 25 and 2026 XB2 come with thicker turnbuckles. That was a durability upgrade that they made to the kit, and I will be doing the same by going to the larger diameter turnbuckles, and of course I will need the larger ball ends, and with that they also did larger actual pivot balls. So you can see here is what comes with the XB2 24, which I believe is 4.9 millimeters, whereas with the 25 and 26 they went to 5.4 millimeters. So another durability upgrade there. Not going to gain you a ton in performance, but you know, it's gonna increase the percentage of races you finish. So that's a upgrade that I'm going to carry forward into my 24 to help it compete a little bit more and hopefully be a little bit more durable and not run into so many issues. So I am going to get these turnbuckles put together here. All right, so let's get into it. Let's cut open these ball ends, and for this portion, and this tree should give me enough ball ends, yes, for the entire kit. So you only need one tree, and for the rear turnbuckles, I should just need these straight pieces. So let's cut those off the tree. Put our tree to the side. Also gonna cut open my upgraded 5.4 millimeter pivots. These are also nickel coated too, so I guess there is a little bit of a performance upgrade there, right? A little bit freer suspension, hypothetically. Okay, so let's move into assembling these turnbuckles. I'm gonna take a tiny bit of grease, put it on the threads, just to help it cut into the fresh plastic. Should cut no problem. end here. And I'll just slide my pick through the end. And run our pivot down. Again, just put a tiny bit of grease over the threads, just to help them cut. And let's turn them on. One really cool thing about X-ray kits is that a lot of the plastics are pre-threaded, which is amazing. If you've ever built a kit where your turnbuckles and arms and such weren't pre-threaded, you know how much of a pain it can be. So that's pretty much how we're going to build these turnbuckles. It's going to be pretty straightforward. I will go in and measure them after the fact. The kit does recommend 41.2 millimeters for dirt. Of course, that might depend on setup preferences, so I'm gonna kind of take that with a grain of salt. I'm just gonna get these built. That way we can get them on the car. Oops. And then when the car is actually ready for a initial setup, I will go in and get these to the right length. But for now, we're just gonna get them put on the car. That way our suspension is complete. So again, just a little bit of grease, just to help those threads cut. Put our pick on here. Oops. And turn our turnbuckle end onto our pretty snazzy J-Concepts titanium turnbuckle. That looks pretty good. Okay, after fiddling with that Techno shock wrench, I was able to finally get these pivot balls all mounted up. They feel nice and smooth, and they are ready to go into the buggy. So they're going to connect into this inner hole on the sway bar mount, and of course onto the hub. I'm going to make sure to put the little marking on the turnbuckle all to the left side of the car. That way, for adjusting purposes, they all adjust the same way. So we're going to put a conical shim on, as well as a 1 millimeter shim. And that is going to mount to the hub with my 2.0 driver. Again, there's no Loctite called for in the manual, which I find kind of odd, but I'm just going to roll with what it says. We're going to have a conical on the inside, and that's again going to go to the inside mount on the sway bar mount. I'm actually going to switch over to a 2.0 ball end just to give myself a little bit more wiggle room. I don't want to cross thread my nice new aluminum sway bar mount. So we'll snug both of those puppies up, and we should be good to go. We'll do the same thing on this side. We'll do a conical combined with a 1 millimeter shim. That's going to go on the hub side. I will keep an eye on these and see if they're coming loose, and can always add some Loctite at a later point once you get the car put together. We'll put a conical on this side and mount it in the same hole, this inner hole on the sway bar mount. So we'll snug that puppy down. Snug the other side one more time. And just like that, our rear suspension is good to go on our 2024 XB2. It's got our 2025 and 2026 arms, the titanium turnbuckles, the aluminum sway bar holder, and it's good to go. So those upgrades should give this car a little bit more advantage when we get it on the track. Up next will be bag 4, which will bring us to the front portion of the chassis with the side guards and the front steering components. So stay tuned for that video. But until then, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.